it is just me. Well, welcome to MSP Community Live. Don't know where Josh went. He was here before the video, but you're going to have to deal with me quickly. So I'll do a quick introduction, and we'll get right to our guest. Normally, there would be some banter about baseball or about sports or about something like that going on, but, well, it's the World Series Game 1, so that's pretty exciting. And I am excited to be headed out to B-Sides Peoria later today after the show. But with Josh gone, let's just bring our guests right up, and we'll do the intro. So we have two guests this week, Stephen and Natalie. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves? Start with you, Stephen.
Sure. Stephen Kellogg, founder of Blue Helm Technology. We do fractional CTO, CIO, diving into AI and automation along with half the world. Natalie?
Only half the world?
Only
well,
half.
You know.
Not very ambitious there. Hi, I'm Natalie Suarez, and I guess I'm just a free agent right now.
I like
How's
it.
that?
I like
Free
it.
agent.
I think you have to show the audience what your shirt says, though, because that's a pretty awesome.
It's an awesome shirt. We're so creative, Matt.
We are creative. So we had those custom made for an event last year sometime, and we got a lot of good comments, right? You can almost boil down a lot of cybersecurity behaviors to stop doing that, right? Stop clicking on things.
For sure.
So are you guys sports fans? Josh and I always start the show with talking
similar.
sports. Yes.
Nice.
Oh, somebody flipped
like
screen
that.
for me. Thank you.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that. Am I a sports fan? I am a sports fan by marriage. What's that?
Oh, okay.
But I am a longtime Tampa resident, so I do have to follow the Rays, the Bucks, the Lightning. I really do enjoy hockey. And baseball's pretty cool too. I like hockey and baseball. Football,
Baseball's fun. The trap, not so much.
Yeah, well,
I enjoy
the Trop
watching,
is
but
no more.
That's right.
I enjoy watching, but I'm not like an avid fan of much of any of it. Not these days.
Fair.
Played soccer, coached soccer growing up.
Nice.
I feel like that's a requirement. Like almost everyone I know had to play soccer when they were kids, especially depending on where you're from.
Depends
I
where,
didn't play soccer.
Yeah.
I was the manager for the high school girls soccer team, though, but I did not play.
Okay.
So
you managed without having played. Was that difficult? Like, was it hard to relate to what to do on the field, or did they mostly need a leader more so than a tactician?
Well, I would like keep score, keep track of, the fouls and all that kind of stuff, and just, ride on the bus. They were my friends. I'm
you
not
managed,
athletic.
but they still had coach.
Yes. Oh, yeah, they still had a coach.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was.
I see.
Coach.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I kept score and rode on the bus and hung out.
So you got to do all the fun stuff, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and I cheered for them. Go Hawks!
Well, the only noteworthy thing going on sports world. Sorry, I'm a little congested. First game of the World Series today versus Dodgers, and one thing that keeps coming up is like it's described as this David and Goliath thing, and a comment that comes up frequently among this discussion is I feel like a lot of people don't know how that story actually ended when people keep describing things as David versus Goliath.
Not well.
I think it'll be a good series, right? The Dodgers are obviously the well-funded juggernaut, but the Jays seem like a team of destiny almost, right? They just keep steamrolling over their competition this year, and I think it'll be a better or closer matchup than was initially predicted. So we'll see.
Should be cool.
I did just think of a little bit of an off thing on sports. I do actually follow esports some, so that's
okay.
That's a little different angle, but yeah.
I like it.
I don't even know what that is. What do you mean?
So video games now have professional teams, and they do esport.
No, really?
Tournaments and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. They're really serious operations, right? It's gone from just
cool.
like way back when people who were avid gamers to like these are really serious professional ops now.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I've never
They
been a
actually have,
gamer because it gives me
they have,
motion sickness. So,
oh yeah, I'm sorry. They do. I mean, they have pro teams that are, sponsored and all of that.
oh,
So
that's super
they do
cool.
big events around the world. Yeah.
Wow, you
Yeah.
learn something new every day. So glad I'm here.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
actually
so
have
we'll
a
get
friend,
to
his
the
son was on a college team where they had an esports college team as well. It's pretty
really.
interesting.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
The college version.
Wow. Super
Yeah.
cool.
All right, well, we'll get to the meat of the content here. If you guys have not seen the show before, what we do on this stream is we look at questions that were raised in Reddit comments, or could be other forums, but mostly Reddit, and give our professional advice to help the original poster without really looking at the comments or seeing how it was answered previously. And we stick to mostly biz ops type questions. We we don't talk about specific vendors or technology, really just how to operate a business. And we get a lot of interesting, unique perspectives here. So let's get right into the first story, and we'll go for it. All right, so first story, and as I try and maximize them on my laptop here, imposter syndrome as a PM. So the poster in this is asking, does anyone here work as a project manager for an MSP? Can you share your experience and what your everyday looks like? This person has been a project manager for the past few years, MSP based in New York, and he's not sure if it's imposter syndrome or if this is normal, right? He feels like he's doing a lot of admin work, coordinating, giving updates on progress, status updates, text, corralling people. Some of his time is budgeting, and some of it is going through. He feels like he's just a glorified admin person. And the ultimate question he asks at the end is this what being a project manager is really like, or does he work for a bad company? So let's start with you, Stephen. Is this person feeling the normal effects of being a PM, or is there something unique about his situation from the info we have?
So I would look at probably two things. One is it's interesting that they put imposter syndrome in there, because to me that is typically more, I don't feel capable of doing my job. I don't feel like I have the right background or qualifications to actually meet what's needed. But then what they describe to me doesn't sound like a heavy lift PM type job. It sounds like they're doing more admin type tracking work, right? Interesting too, I think in there they talked about they have a senior PM or something like that, and
Yeah,
they seem to not, things seem to be fine for them. So I would kind of say I would challenge maybe a couple things. I don't think that the role sounds like what I would dub a true PM, like you would expect in a bigger org project management type role. But then I would also challenge the person to say, what do you want the role to be? How can you start shifting the mindset of the company by performing different things and pointing out, hey, I looked at our past projects. We typically go over, and these are the areas we go over. How are we forecasting or, sizing these jobs? Maybe as an example.
yeah, almost sounds like a project coordinator to me.
Yeah, that's a
What do
good
you
term.
think, Natalie?
Oh, definitely. Definitely sounds like a lot of admin work, but I almost wonder from the tone if maybe this where the imposter syndrome comes in is they feel like maybe they're not qualified to be a real project manager, or maybe they don't understand what a project manager should do. I don't see anything in here about like scheduling, planning the project, or objectives or milestones. Maybe this person needs to do a little sleuthing on what a project manager should do and figure out, like you said, Stephen, what they want the role to be. Because it does sound like a lot of administrative stuff. And of course, the senior PM is happy. They're not doing any administrative stuff. Duh.
I I have a guess on this, and I'd like to hear your opinions on it. When I read this, I agree with you, Stephen. It's probably a misuse of the term imposter syndrome, and I'm wondering if that's just they don't know what it actually means. Um, I almost got the vibe that the person posting this has that same feeling that you sometimes get if you're a technical person and you become a manager, like you don't realize it's not a
Mhm.
technical job anymore. I'm
Yeah.
wondering if it's more like
Right.
that they didn't
Could be.
realize that PM is really the emphasis is on the M part, right? It's a managerial role. It's not hands-on registering anymore. And I'm kind of wondering if that's what happened here.
There's
Could be.
another piece too on that is they probably aren't given the authority to actually be a PM, right?
Mm,
Which makes it hard to be a PM.
Yeah.
So it sounded like, I mean, it was a pretty long post, but it looked like there was something in there about there's a lot of communication that kind of happens outside of what they're on. So that
Yes.
would be another area I would say set up standard meetings for your projects. And that's where
Yeah.
you get, you're driving, hey, we're behind on this. What can we do to, and then you're having an impact instead of just
Mhm.
reacting and recording. I also
Yeah,
would
right. Do you actually
probably
have the
change my
authority
Reddit
to
name if that
schedule
was mine.
your
Sorry.
resources? Like, do you have the authority to schedule resources or to write change orders or insist something is out of scope, right? Do you really have ownership of the project?
Yeah.
Or are you kind of just the calendar keeper?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't seem very effective just to attend meetings and take notes.
Right.
Um,
And I think
so
that's a
let's just take
shift
a
too.
second.
That's a
No,
shift in
you're
mindset
good.
potentially too, where maybe they need to be more proactive than reactive. Just how can
Yeah.
I put that mindset on? How can I be more proactive in this position to actually help impact the jobs we're doing versus just reactive? So,
Yeah, I think you're nailing it. I think this person has the PM title without the authority and maybe combined with not actually understanding what it's supposed to be in the first
mhm.
place, just leading to a just overall mismatch of expectations here, which is ironic for a project manager who's supposed to prevent that from happening between them
Yeah.
and clients.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
Um,
a pretty clear-cut role, project management. So yeah.
and
Okay,
I
that's a
won't
whole
speak for
different
anyone
rant.
else. It's not an exciting role for me. Like
No.
I did that for a while, and yeah, it felt kind of good when projects were executed flawlessly, but you didn't get that same good feeling of when you did something very cool technically, or I certainly
Mhm.
didn't.
Yeah, the other rant I was going to say is I think a lot of MSPs put titles because they sound good, but they
Hmm.
don't actually understand or know or support what that position should really do. Like VCIO is another good one that comes to mind, right? A lot of that turns into you're just really an account manager slash salesperson. Anyway,
Mhm.
that's a whole
Yeah.
different conversation.
Oh man, if we go down that, well, this will be a 4-hour show. All right, let's move on to the next story. I think we've identified there's just a lot of confusion in that first one. All right, so this person, MSP, who built their own storage and backup. So 50% engineering. So okay, so this is from a client side, right? We're a 50%
Mm.
engineering firm, 20 terabyte archive data, currently on prem, and 5T. Ooh, 5T and SharePoint sounds like not a lot of fun. Went to look for a new MSP, and one of the candidates stands out because they offered to cover remote hosting and backup included in their monthly service. Okay, I mean that seems normal-ish. So it sounded like they're doing it in-house, not Datto, etc. Service fees are competitive, and our CEO thinks this is cool because their approach suggests innovation, which aligns with our corporate culture. Raise concerns over data security. Yep, I would certainly be thinking about that too. Plans they host HIPAA clients. Their office is very small because most staff work remote. What are the right questions that is? So let me see if I can boil this down. I think he's asking about the pros and cons of an MSP that's built out their own backup for infra, like maybe they're a Veeam shop and they have their own remote storage or something like that, as opposed to using something that's an appliance like that or anything else similar. So from the client perspective, what do you think of MSPs that are doing something like that? And I think what he's really asking for is how hard is this to do, that you have, like, what would you need to have confidence in an organization trying to do that themselves versus using something off the shelf? There's a couple directions this could go, but this time we'll start with you, Natalie. What do you
Okay.
think about this whole situation?
Whenever I hear homegrown, it gives me the heebie-jeebies. But I think the first question: are they SOC 2 compliant? Do they have a SOC 2 attestation? Right? Can they spell SOC 2? Right?
I have 2 socks.
Yeah, I have socks too. But I think that would be my first question, and I'd want to understand. Well, see, I used to be a software developer, so I still kind of have that little nerd bent. I'd like to understand how they built this. I'd want the technical detail. Like, okay, is this just a bunch of Python? Is this is this a white labeled vendor solution? Do you really build this from scratch? What are your physical and cyber protections that you have in place? What kind of incident response plan do you have? What's your plan for when it all goes to heck in a handbasket? God, there's just so many questions. I think that's a lot to start with. What do you think, Matt?
So I have differing points of view on this. When I was still
Yeah.
MSPing, we did this. We built our own, in our case, Veeam offsite infrastructure,
Okay.
but there was
But it
a
was
ton
Veeam.
to do. Yeah, it was Veeam, but just
Yeah.
our own offsite storage, right, and stuff like
Right.
that. There was a huge amount of engineering that went into this, right? It's not
Yeah.
something. Honestly, it's not something that we really wanted to do. It's just that the way the financials worked out, it became more cost effective. But it
Right.
took a couple of us like a solid year of engineering before we got to the point where we said we're comfortable putting client data on this and that we can protect it. And it wasn't just like throw a couple stands out in the
Yeah.
colo facility and like now you have your
Right.
offsite infrastructure. There was a
And I
lot
wouldn't.
of what
Yeah.
you're talking about, DR planning and BCP and
Yeah.
like all that
Disaster
stuff.
recovery. Yeah. IR, DR. What, am I the first customer who's going to be using this? Am I your guinea pig? you know?
And I think for us, like, the question I'd be asking my MSP if I was a client is why? Like for us, the
Yeah.
answer was the scale made it so that it was worth it financially for them.
Yeah.
Um, unless you have that scale, it's probably not worth it. And what I'd be looking for as the client is some answer that's not, we think engineering is fun and wanted to build this. Like a
Yeah,
real
exactly.
reason.
We thought it would be a lot of fun. Bad answer.
I mean, that's the answer
Yeah.
sometimes. I feel
Yeah.
like that's why this is done.
Yeah.
I would go into it pretty skeptical, honestly. And I would have a lot of the similar questions like, where is it hosted? Do you have multiple internet connections? Do you have multiple power sources? Like even not just in the stack, but to the facility? Because that's what you pay for when you have something in a data center. Typically, they have multiple internet connections from different providers through not riding the same line, separate lines. They have generator backups, et cetera, et cetera. So all of that would be a question. But then also, okay, if you do have a failure, what happens, right? When you're in the cloud, you can set up geolocated pieces. So if a certain East 1 site goes down,
That
Your
never
Starbucks
happens.
app
not that
doesn't work.
happens, but if that happens and you need it, you can fail over. Also, the type of data you're storing, what are you doing? What is, from a client's perspective, what's your RTO?
Mhm.
All of that, those questions, really the MSP should be asking and having that discussion and then saying,
Yeah.
okay, here's how we're going to support it. And
Yeah.
does their facility actually support your objectives?
Yeah. I think I think if I could sum up, I think all of our answers, the big takeaway is that this is not a small undertaking. This is a
No.
significant project, right?
Yeah.
And an ongoing project to properly do it and maintain it and manage it. You need real engineering resources. This isn't the kind of thing that one of your techs can just like do in their spare time and manage. If you ran the numbers and found that it's financially worth it, then maybe it could make sense. But I'd be asking a lot of questions as the client as far as like, did you properly resource this, or did you just like try and save a buck by not going through the vendor's offsite storage? And there could be a legit answer. There often isn't. And I think that's kind of what we're saying. This is not a normal practice. And usually when you hear it, there's some external or extra circumstance that made this necessary. And your MSP should have a good answer for that.
And two more things. If they're local,
Yeah.
go do a walkthrough of the facility to make sure it's not stuck in their closet somewhere in their office, right? The other is make sure you read the fine print, because I have seen from MSPs, oh, if you want your data back, you let us know within X amount of time, we'll do a backup to a hard drive and mail that to you. Well, if you're critical on needing that data and being up, that's not a viable solution. So read the whole agreement to understand how you get your data back if you want to move later.
Seriously, great point. All right, we can move to the next story. We're actually right on schedule so far. Oh man. All right, this one, the headline speaks for itself. What's your favorite interview question? Like, what helps you? And I think the second line though gets to the root of it. What helps you weed out the people that will work from the people that will sink and swim? Yeah. So what's your favorite interview question? And I think you can even go further. How do you interview people? Is it even a series of questions that you go down the list on?
I can jump in if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
Usually what I do is when I first walk in, I ask them, how was your trip here? That's if you're interviewing in person, right? Obviously, how was your trip to your computer? I probably don't want details about what they did at their house in the morning. But then I just try to have some light banter to help them relax. And then from there, I often say, okay, well, tell me a little about yourself while I skim your resume. Right. And then what I'm doing when I'm skimming the resume is looking for specific projects that align with what I'm looking for. And then I'll dive in on those. So tell me about this project, but I'm very keen on asking, what was your role in this project? Because a lot of people will list, I was on this project, but they spent 5 minutes on it. Or it was a project that their company did, so they were kind of involved, but not really. And then I ask them, okay, well, what was, then I dive in a little deeper. What was a hard thing about this project you overcame? Or so you're getting them to actually have to discuss the projects, not just say, yeah, I had this title on this project. Using the PM as the example, right? If you ask them, okay, well, tell me about how did you lay out the plan for these projects? Well, I didn't. Oh, okay. What did you do?
Yeah.
Right. That would be an
director
example, right? For the earlier person would have a hard time answering some true PM type questions because that's not what they're doing, but they have the title.
Yeah.
So.
Agreed. How about you, Natalie? How do you interview people?
I usually start by, of course, introducing myself and why I'm interviewing them, like what my role is in this whole shebang. I like to ask them, to tell me a little bit about themselves, and then a little bit about why they're applying for this position, why they want to work at whatever company it is, and why the position. Some people will be brutally honest and not in a good way. Like, I don't have a job. I've had people
my rent's overdue.
say really weird stuff. I mean, it usually goes better than that. I like to ask like scenario questions. Like I do like to ask I like to look at the resume, and if they've done projects, kind of ask, what their role was, what went right, what went wrong. I'm always, my favorite thing I think to ask is not just why do you want this position or why do you want to work at this company, but I like for them to have questions ready. So I think it's a really bad sign if you say, okay, you try to leave room at the end. Would
Hmm.
you have any questions for me? And I think really good questions to ask are things like, well, tell me a little bit more about yourself or your role at the company or why you like to work at the company. I like to hear that come back at me to see if they truly have interest.
No, I agree. And
Yeah.
the question shouldn't be like, how many days off do we get, and what's
Yeah.
the bonus structure, right?
What am I getting paid?
I've done the thing in
Yeah,
the
I mean,
past
I,
too
I
for
guess I do hope that they're interested in that.
Yeah.
some of the bigger roles where we've had multiple people interview.
Mhm.
We'll gather at the end and do a quick thumb up, thumb down.
Mhm.
What's your gut feel
Mhm.
before we even get into the but they answered this way or that way? What's your gut feel? And if everybody's thumbs down, you're done. Okay,
Yeah,
next.
Yeah.
Don't even have to
I like that.
explain. Yeah, it just helps. You don't spend 30 minutes talking about one person that nobody wanted to actually hire anyway. So
Right.
it's a little tip. That's not really interview questions, but
Yeah, I like to ask about
Uh,
culture too, because I want to
yeah.
know if I mean, you could be the perfectly qualified candidate for something, but if you can't get along with anybody in the current company and current culture, it's not going to go well for them. It's not going to go well for you. I'm trying to think how, just and I think you can gauge that by talking about what your company culture is and then asking them if, to give you a scenario about a difficult situation they've been in at work and how they handle it. Because if someone tells you they haven't been in a difficult situation at work, they're either 15 or they're not telling you the truth.
Seriously,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also depends
I
on the
prefer
position
to.
as to what you do, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it
If they're going to
does.
interact with clients, well, you can set up a scenario where they have to present or they
Yeah.
have to, that kind of thing as well.
Yeah.
If they're tucked away in the corner coding, they still need to be able to communicate, but they don't have to present something in front of clients per se, depending on
Right.
how you run your shop. But yeah.
Yeah, I just like having conversations with Ken. I
Yeah.
mean, there are important questions like what sports teams do you like, and I will sometimes ask questions like that to break the ice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I just like to have kind of like your approach, Stephen. Like I'm not a believer in going down this list of, okay, here's my 10 questions I ask every candidate. And I'm also
Right.
not a believer in those like, gotcha interview questions, like,
No.
like the fizz buzz kind of stuff. Don't really like doing those. Not that I'm hiring for dev roles, but you get an idea of a candidate's personality just by chatting with them, right?
Yeah.
Are they going to be a culture fit?
Mhm.
Do you just generally get along? Do you like them? Would you the classic? It's a little
Yeah.
bit of a cliche, but would you like go out in the bar and have a drink with them? Like that stuff matters too. Like their attitude towards things, even the technical skills. That's the easiest thing, right? You can
Mhm.
skill someone up if they show an aptitude for
Yeah.
learning or an aptitude for problem solving. If you feel like you're going to get along and you know your clients, right? Are they going to get along with them in a good way? Like, for example, I always got along much better with our professional services clients, like our accountants, lawyers, that kind of thing, than I did with like our industrial clients. My personality
Mm.
doesn't fit into like the middle of a machine shop, right? And so we would take stuff like that into consideration when we're
Mm-hmm.
hiring candidates, right? What team is this on? What kind of clients? Like, what are they going to be doing? Do they fit in culture wise? And that to me was always more important. Like you can get from chatting with them about the project they worked on or how they approach problem solving, like do they get it? And if they have the baseline requisite knowledge, that's the most important thing. Like we'll teach them the tech
Yeah.
skills they need, but if they'll fit culturally, that's the bit. And you can't get that by going down a list of questions. So if I give one piece of advice, it's what you alluded to, Stephen, and that's just talk with your candidates, right? Like throw the question out the window. Like don't try and do like some fairness thing where we ask all our candidates the same like X number of questions. Just get to know them a little bit. That's the biggest strategy.
Agreed. I'd rather have a great culture fit that needs some training than a super technical person who can't get along with anybody.
Yeah, the stereotypical, like, throw pizza under the door and don't let them in your clients. We don't really need those. Maybe you need one, depending on the company. Okay, I think we can move on from the hiring conversation. Interesting. I don't know that an interview hiring question has ever come up here, but that's a good one. I like that. What's our next story? Oh, this is good. We can read the post, but I think we all kind of get it just from the title, right? The service manager versus sales conundrum. Hey guys, I'm a service manager, larger help desk. So interesting. Service managers usually all of service delivery, not just help desk. So I find that interesting. Manage 16 guys. It's a lot of direct reports. New to the company, been here 4 or 5 months. ITIL shop. Manage about 30K endpoints and nearly every client's network. Only about a third of the team are dispatchable, so it can go on site. How do we handle pressure from sales? And I think what he's saying is, how do we deal with sales trying to get people to cut the line or go out of process, or they have a big deal coming up. So I think we should talk about how do I deal with in general, outside pressure to skip process for big clients or for potential deals, things like that. Like, how do you push back on that interdepartmental tension and pressure? And I've seen that between sales and service, between professional services, like when does the project end kind of stuff? When does it stop being part of the project when something goes wrong? There's a lot of ways we can swing at this. So if you're a service manager, what do you say to this person, like to try and stem some of this issue? And I think there's a couple of higher level things just from reading the post to him specifically. So you can swing at this from 2 ways, right? This specific situation, and just in general, that interdepartmental conflict. Oh, and Josh made it. Welcome, Josh.
Hey.
Dude, I don't know what happened there. That was some weird stuff.
Can anyone find a tech person?
No.
Yeah. Does anyone know how to fix computers here?
I just rebooted things until they worked.
I mean, that's the
It's always
primary
that.
answer, right?
Yeah.
That's all we do anyway.
I know. That's all we do. It's all about persistence.
Josh,
right?
you want to come in hot on this? Do you have an opinion on this post, or do you want to get your bearings first?
You know what? I'm not even sure which post we're on, guys. So
all right. We'll you can
I'll
start on the
start.
next one. Yeah, go ahead, Natalie.
Okay. Well, maybe it's just me, but I read a lot of attitude in this post. You want to talk about culture? I do. It's not, I don't care about the opportunities. Well, you kind of should care about
There's a
the
flag.
opportunities,
Right.
right? Because if there is no money coming in, your job may be on the line. There's a lot of things going on in here. He really has too many direct reports, and it may not be that maybe this person should do what I do before I send an email because I'm very direct. Maybe they should run it through ChatGPT first to soften it a little. He has too many reports. He doesn't say anything about what the processes of the company are. Are these people out of line with coming directly to him and applying pressure? There's just a lot of things happening here. He doesn't sound like he has a good attitude about the whole situation. But I mean, I kind of feel bad for this person. I don't know if it's a he or she, but I kind of feel bad for them. But things like, I don't care about the opportunities, it's not my job, is a huge red flag for me. That's not something that's not something I would want to hear from someone I'm working with. I don't know. I mean, I know about you, Matt, because I've worked with you very closely. I don't think either one of us has an attitude of that's not my job, right? There's been many times where something has been outside the scope of what we're doing, and we have picked up the slack and helped, right? And this sounds like something that maybe is a decision above him. Number one, what are the processes? Number two, if it maybe this is a large client who's big enough that someone in higher leadership or ownership kind of helps readjust priorities. I mean, I've worked for a few software companies, right? And just because it's a large client doesn't mean we stop everything and do it, but there should be some criteria. What size is the client? How long have they been with us? Do other clients need this feature they're asking for? And perhaps he needs a little help on this ticket on the bottom, applying some additional pressure to the vendor. Because if I were a client, I would also be upset if I heard absolutely nothing in 2 weeks. And maybe just picking up the phone or sending that email and saying, hey, I just want to give you an update would solve some of these problems versus having people like breathing down your neck. I mean, I'm not there. I mean, the salesperson could be a jerk too. I don't know. But some of the things in here are just
No,
red
that
flags
never
for me.
happens.
No, that never happens. I feel like I was kind of
Steven,
all over the
what do you
place, but I
think?
feel like this is all over the place.
No, that was a good answer. I'll hold mine
Okay.
until the end because
Yeah.
I'll go on a rant if I go next.
Yeah, I think it speaks to a couple things. I would say this MSP probably needs help overall. That doesn't necessarily help the individual, but the other thing is that, to the point of if they haven't heard anything in 2 weeks, as the salesperson, I probably would be upset too. Like, hey, what's going on? So that would be some of the things I would look at in this person's position is, hey, are there follow-up and process things that we need to add so that clients do feel love, right? Yes, you treat all clients the same, but that actually doesn't happen in reality. So I think it's easy to say that in your head. Ultimately, it's hard to do that in practice. Yeah, it's a little bit of a weird one. I know I have been on the dev side on sales and over dev teams, and sales come back and say, yeah, but I told them this. And I've had to tell the salesperson, well, you get to go back and tell them, no, that you promised something we couldn't do. And when you tell them that once or twice, they start coming to you, right? But to me, I would work more on how do I actually build a better working relationship with the salesperson versus how do I defend my current stance? And both sides are needed, right? I've had an accountant say, you need to get your IT team to fix my people's stuff first because I do payroll. Without me, you won't get payroll. And I said, yes. And without your computer, which I can take down, you won't get payroll either, right? It's like, come on, people. We're a team here. Let's work together. So that's what I'm not seeing in this post. It's more, they're bugging me and I don't care. And how do I make it stop?
Yeah, I agree. I have a couple things, and we're gonna go over time on this one, but so be it. A few things stand out to me on this post. One is the number of direct reports, as you guys mentioned, is super high. The ratio of endpoints to techs is a little off as well. Seeing that's a lot of endpoint. Like it just doesn't really the math doesn't math for me exactly. But Stephen, you pointed out, I think the big takeaway and the big piece of advice I would give this person, and that is the way the world works is sometimes you do, throw the procedure out the window and do a favor for the salesperson and skip the queue, right? Or skip the process, or don't make them wait through the normal SLA. That's just how things work. And I'm wondering if this person is like someone who's very beholden to rules and process and is like frustrated that it's not being followed. And like, I'm trying to think of the nice way to say this. Like that's just the way it is, right? You have to be willing to accept that. And I've said on the show before that, one of the key traits of a senior leader or senior engineer or technical person is that when to throw out the process and do the thing that the situation calls for, as opposed to just blindly following the procedure manual. I'll say though, on the interdepartmental tension, I went through this quite a bit when I was doing pro services, and Number one is just to have a good working relationship at the department head level. Like I used to meet with the service manager, and I was running pro services weekly, right? We would go out to the bar and just like hang out and chat, not even in the office, just like see what was going on. And you know what that meant? That meant when they needed a favor, like needed to escalate something to us, it was no big deal. Or if I needed, to borrow 4 of their guys to do a manual task across, 50 workstations, it just worked. And I think sometimes you get in your department so like laser focused on what you're doing, you kind of forget you're all working for the same company anyway. Like, yeah, there may be a separate P&L for different departments depending on how your organization is structured, but ultimately you're all just trying to keep the client happy and keep them paying. And like that gets lost easily. So that's my big advice. Like kind of remember you're all on the same team here, even if you're in different departments, and just do what you have to do, because doing that favor means that when you tell sales down the road this onboarding can't happen for 2 weeks, there's a give and take there. There just has to be.
I think that's a great point, that if they're not meeting, they definitely should be. But that's also where you can say, hey, we're waiting on the vendor. Maybe you could reach out and talk with the client. And then that's a proactive sales being able to come in and say, hey, I know this is a problem, but this is what we've done. Here are the steps. And we're really working with the vendor to get a response, instead of waiting until they come try to beat you up.
Yep. Sometimes just communicating is enough.
Yeah, it helps so much. And you don't have to meet at the bar, right? We just did that because we liked trying local beers.
I mean, you can.
Some kind of meeting. It actually was valuable for that. It was outside of work. It doesn't have to be at a bar, though.
Actually, I'll throw this out too. I think a lot of people in this kind of what I would say mid-management level is where I'm going to go. But a lot of people will wait for upper management to generate a meeting for those mid-level people to meet, but you don't have to wait for that.
Yeah.
You can set up your own meeting and be proactive. Mindset of proactive versus reactive, right? The proactive says, hey, we have an issue. Let's meet and talk through it. How can we help? I understand you have this need. These are the needs I'm dealing with. So how do we work together so it's a win-win?
I love it.
Yep.
All right, let's end on that. We can see if we can get the next story in quickly. We'll probably skip the very last one. Oh, luckily it's a very easy story to talk about.
Oh, is it?
No.
That's funny.
Let's just go based on the headline. Should I fire a client that's 50% of my revenue? Losing my mind here. And I think it's safe to say the answer is some form of maybe, but I'd like to hear what influences the maybe for each of you.
So a quick skim says it's $5,000 a month of revenue coming in, which is half the revenue. And it's, I did actually skim through this one, and it's a hard one, right? I think he said he's got 4 months worth of savings. What I would
wait till you have
advise,
6 months.
honestly, what I would say is, where can you cut expenses on a personal level? Right. And that's like adding a client for some people, especially if half your revenue is $5,000. Can you internally in your own personal life cut expenses, which is the equivalent of adding another small client? Great. That's a step. Can you actually add a small client? Okay, that's a step. And then I wouldn't necessarily fire the client. I would say, what can I do to go back to the client and say, hey, I think we need to renegotiate how this is being done. These are the things that are happening. That doesn't actually work well for my side to say, to keep a business going. And then you can work to either make them a better client or say, okay, well then in the next 3 months, we're going to need to shift you to somebody else. And sometimes even when you say that, it's okay, wait, we really like working with you. Let's see if we can fix it. So that would be my quick answer.
Yeah. I
A
would
definite
totally
maybe.
agree with that. I would totally agree with that. That's exactly what I would do. I would see where I could cut expenses and maybe, I mean, we don't know if he has an agreement with this client, what kind of agreement he has, what the terms are they agreed upon working together. Maybe he could, point back to what those terms are, have a, a sit down with them. I think I'd recommend having this kind of sit down in person. There's just something about in person that is better for this type of thing. And
Yeah.
he really needs to make sure he makes it non-confrontational, which could be difficult when you're really stressed out. So kind of work it out, how you want the discussion to go, what happens if it goes this way, what happens if it goes that way. And you're right. Sometimes when you go to fire a client, they can readjust. But this is no way to live. So like Matt said, it's a strong maybe.
It's
Leaning
also
towards yes.
it's something that happens to a lot of companies when they first start. It's easy to
Yeah.
lock into that one big client, but it's also, this is one of the reasons you don't do that if you can help it.
Yeah.
And
But
I mean,
it's hard to
even
pick your clients, right?
Yeah.
When you're starting out, it's like, oh, you want to be a client? Yes, sign here.
Yeah. I mean, I know sometimes in my professional life that I'll say, I'll keep saying yes to people because I like them, or, I want to
Right.
be agreeable, and then I'm like, holy cow, I can't do all this.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a little bit of that. Maybe they're just used to this person always saying yes, and they don't realize the amount of pressure they're putting on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with what both of you said. I would almost surmise this, or the advice would be not necessarily, but firing them needs to be a viable option, and you need to go into the meeting with that being an acceptable outcome.
Yeah.
Even if that means some short term, like razor thin margins, or even losing money in the short term. If it's to the point where you can't get other work done for clients, or you don't have time to go prospect and sell, then it's a losing battle. But I think the biggest thing is when you go into this discussion that you mentioned, Stephen, that you don't let the client know how big a percentage of your revenue they are, right?
Definitely
Like
not.
it needs to be very clear that you're okay leaving this meeting with the outcome being parting ways. They'll walk all over you if
which
if
means
they
you
know that.
actually need to be okay with it.
Yes.
Yeah, you
not
do,
just say the words, oh, I'm okay with it. Yeah. The other thing I'll point out is if it's 50%, that means you have other clients. So I would go now to the other clients and ask for referrals, right? Because you may be surprised that, oh, wait, actually I can replace 30% of this, and that makes this other conversation a whole lot easier.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so we're almost out of time. Why don't we skip the last stories and go to the upcoming events and announcements, because I always like ending the show on time. What's coming up? And I'll start with what's coming up is tomorrow, maybe a little late to register and travel, B-Size Peoria. Very exciting event. Cody Kretzinger is one of the organizers of it. It's a really fun time, and if you've ever been to a B-Sides, you know what the ethos is, right? Just people sharing their knowledge. It's not about sales pitches, so that's fun. Coming up, though, we have Seven Figure MSP, Producers Club, ASCII Philadelphia. Man, there's a lot going on this month. Cybersecurity Summit in Seattle, IR Games. Our co-host Josh will be a part of that. Hopefully his AV is fixed by then.
As will I.
And
I'm heavily involved in IR Game. Yeah.
Stephen, why don't you talk about IR Game? Josh usually does the plug.
Yeah. So IR Game is an online tabletop for incident response. It is really geared more towards the hearts and minds and the C-suite, although technical people who play it have their eyes open that, oh, tech is not the actual full answer of an IR. There's a whole lot of other stuff that goes into it. So we do a free game at the end of the month. We are partnering with MSPs to also run the game for their clients and prospects. Different versions, online, in person. And I think Bob will be at IT Nation, the upcoming conference, running a pre-day there. Right at Boom also.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's running at IT Nation, actually. I think he'll be there. I don't remember.
I don't think we have IR game on site. We did at Secure because I was obviously security focused.
Yeah.
I don't think it's on the agenda for IR game, but thank you. It's the perfect segue for IT Nation coming
go.
up in
Yeah.
just a couple of weeks. I can't believe we're this close, but it's about 2 weeks away. November 2nd is the beginning of the week, but the actual conference starts a couple days later on Wednesday. So IT Nation Orlando, if you haven't registered, there's still time, and I will be there. Natalie, anything you want to plug?
Nope, I can't say anything yet. Announcements to be coming soon.
I will.
Okay, well
I'll consume
that's
your
exciting.
time then. I'll plug cyberrise.org.
Oh yeah.
So I'm the executive director there as well, and so there's a lot of good work happening under Cyberrise. There are 3 programs, but I don't want to make you not end on time, Matt. But yeah, check out cyberrise.org and volunteer or jump in somehow and help out.
I have an IT Nation question. Can I ask that?
Sure.
Are you guys going to have canines for warriors there this year?
Yes, they'll be there.
Awesome. That's a great organization. So there's my little plug. Awesome organization,
go.
does awesome work. They're one of my top charities that I donate to. Absolutely love those guys. And if you're at IT Nation, you get to pet the dogs.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
That's the whole reason some people go, I think.
Yeah, I think so. But they're a phenomenal organization. So
Yeah, no, I agree. They do some fantastic work, and we've partnered pretty closely with them over the last few years at many of our events. So with that, we'll end on time. So thank you to both Stephen and Natalie for coming on. Good discussion as always, and a few of these topics we could have talked about for probably a couple hours. So good job in getting it into like a 4 or 5 minute answer.
awesome.
And thanks everyone for coming on. We'll see you next week on MSP Community Live.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Thanks. It was fun.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP Media Network.